Well, it's good to see you here, Barry. I was worried you were skipping out on this show to get ready for the draft.
Well, I was going to get ready for the draft, but I decided, you know what, it's more important to my teammates that I'm here, which, I'm not sure how I feel about that.
You don't want to leave Vaughn and I hanging.
You make a commitment to your teammates, all 50 of them, 45 of them, and then you go hightail it, for, bigger and better things, I guess. But I would be kind of ticked if, I was an offensive lineman and I blocked for Fournette or McCaffrey all season long, and all of a sudden, hey, see you guys, I'm going to go to the NFL. But
I think it's just a matter of personal preference.
I do too,
and I'm not going to get mad about it.
And the fact that there's a month in between really all those meaningless bowl games, except for the two that count, which are the Peach Bowl and the Fiesta Bowl. I mean, I'm kind of on the fence on it. I understand people that would be mad, but I understand for their own personal well-being why they're doing it.
Well, we're just glad to see you here.
Well,
we're glad you changed your mind. So
I did.
We can sit here in the last Extra Points show of 2016.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, we can go through a few highlights here and talk some Packers and get everybody set for 2017.
Hope it's a better year. It's gotta be.
Thanks for tuning in. This is the final 2016 episode of Extra Points. Well, we were just talking about it up there, so I guess we might as well just dive right into it. I'm Eric Schmoldt. This is John Barry from the Gazette sports staff, and we get here to get together to chat Wisconsin and local sports every week. Maybe we won't give away all of the info since we're going to use it here over the next couple Sundays, but why don't we just take a minute to reflect back on 2016 a little bit and some of our favorite moments. Is there a game or an event or something that sticks out in your mind that you, or maybe a couple even that you enjoyed
I think
the
for
most?
me, the two big things that stick out are, there are a lot of great team performances, and like you said, you'll delve into that a little bit. But I think individually, three people really stand out. First off would be Jenna Speth, the pitcher at Delavan Darien, who went up to the state tournament in Division II and set an all-tournament record with 36 strikeouts in 2 games. That's 14 innings. It's pretty good.
That's pretty good. And really, good. I'm never going to forget covering, you don't really ever forget covering any of these local teams at state. But that one is particularly one that's going to stick out in my mind for a long time. And not just because she set the record for strikeouts at state, but it was just so bizarre because they go up and play the semifinal one day. It starts raining. It gets postponed. They have to wake up the next day, drive back to a high school out in the middle of nowhere to finish up the semifinal game. And they win that, then they go back home again, and they come back up to Goodman Diamond the next day after that and try to play for a state championship. And it was, the records, that bizarre scenario, it's just something that, that'll be one I remember for a long time.
And that one stands out as far as just what a great accomplishment and a record that, obviously records are made to be broken, and that may get broken someday, but 36 strikeouts is crazy. And then I think the two feel-good individual stories for me were, first off would be Billy Pitchner, the wrestler from Melton, who ended up winning a state title at 170 pounds. And not that he didn't have a good year, but certainly unheralded and not who anyone
wasn't expected to
win the state title. The other one would be Whitewater's Benny Liang, who was the state champion Division II in the 100 breaststroke coming out of Heat 2, which is unheard of. Nobody ever does that. Usually your last heat is your fastest one, and the other people maybe get on the podium. It's a 6th place finish or something. But Benny not only won his heat, but he won the entire event and then finished 3rd in the 100 butterfly. So for Billy Pitchner and Benny Liang, two great stories of two kids that really peaked at the right time and did great things. And then certainly what Jenna Speth did was just incredible and insane, and it was going to be tough to duplicate.
I think some of the other stuff that sticks out. Craig's baseball run back to state was obviously, some people expected it, but when people expect you to do it, sometimes it's almost harder to get it done. And I think you were down there in Beloit for the sectional final game that against Verona, right?
Yep.
And that was a pretty darn good game, and to get back to state. Some of the other, Clinton's run to the football state semifinal is something that town's never going to forget.
No, and that really brought that town together. That community really ate up Clinton football, and it was evident on all the games that I covered. And as the season wore on and they got deeper into the postseason, pretty neat to be, standing around after the game talking to players and coaches while, a couple of hundred fans were still there, mixing it up with the other kids and talking with the players, and just neat. And that's stuff like that makes this job a lot of fun, because you get to see, the community just kind of come together. And then certainly, Delavan Darien boys soccer.
Well, we both got to go up there, and we see the two Walworth County soccer teams, Elkhorn and Delavan Darien, separated by 10 miles or something like that, going to play at state. And not just that, they each won a game there. They were both in state championship matches. I mean, that's pretty darn good for two teams that are right next door to each other.
And Elkhorn, a team that's got a chance to maybe get back there with a lot of kids coming back, and Delavan really relied on quite a few of the good seniors. Tigrio, certainly Huerta was the key player, but don't count out the Comets next year. They got a lot of talent coming up as well. So those two were great stories, great to follow, and certainly there's a lot that we're not going to be able to cover, but a lot of good things happened. And
making a state
run.
Yep. That's a program that hasn't been around very long. So to see them do that for the first time. Even in a sectional semifinal, Craig girls going against Middleton, and everybody just assumed Middleton and Verona were going to play for a trip to state, and Craig, with the upset over Middleton, was a game that I'll probably remember for a long time. That maybe it wasn't a state game.
The Bluebirds were 3 minutes away from a state berth, and gave up 2 goals in the last 3 minutes to Waukesha, and I think more than anything just ran out of gas. And it's going to be exciting to watch both the Fury and the Bluebirds this year, and to see if they can make another run, because I think both teams are talented enough to do that.
We won't get into too much to 2017. We got
we still got a lot of living to do in 2016.
But we will pick up the next couple Sundays on our prep spot. Now that the students are on break, it makes it a little tougher to get some features done, and there's not as much going on. So we'll take the next couple Sundays to look back on 2016 and just kind of share with you our top memories, and maybe some of the players and coaches will
made a difference.
Look back on what those runs meant to their programs and things like that, and then we'll next weekend look ahead to some of the top storylines that we're looking forward to in 2017 and beyond, I guess.
Yep.
So, it was another good year.
It was another good
year,
sports. And I would expect 2017-18 will be another strong year as well.
I guess the storyline that continues around here is we're kind of looking toward the end of the NFL season. Obviously, the Packers, 4 straight wins after 4 straight losses. So
Aaron said they'd run the table.
What do you think?
I think obviously, not only that, but they're catching some breaks. Washington laid an egg last night at home against Carolina. Tampa Bay lost, at Dallas. So really,
the Vikings have petered out.
Yeah, the Vikings are going nowhere fast. And Adrian Peterson he added a lot by him coming back with his 8 rushes for 22 yards, whatever it was. But, you look at it. I think right now, if the playoffs started, the Packers would play Atlanta on the road.
No, right now they wouldn't be in.
Yeah, they would, because Washington lost last night. So Green Bay's 8-6.
Tampa Bay owns the tiebreaker.
No,
I looked it up last night.
No, you're wrong. You're wrong. Green Bay would be the 6th seed right now, because Washington would be 7-6-1. Tampa Bay.
I'm not saying Washington. Tampa Bay is 8-6 as well.
Yeah, and they'd be the 5 seed. Green Bay would be the 6th seed. There's 6 playoff teams. The two division leaders get a bye.
You're missing the Giants.
Huh?
You're missing the Giants.
Yeah. There's 6 teams that get in.
The Cowboys, 3 division leaders. The Giants.
The Cowboys, Giants, Seattle, Tampa Bay, and Green Bay. That's 6.
Tampa Bay overtook.
Tampa Bay would start with the Giants.
We're going to get
Green Bay would play at Atlanta.
ESPN.com. Look up the playoff standings. We're going to move past this.
Okay, we're going to move past this anyways, because I know I'm right.
I don't think they're in.
They're in, because Washington fell to 7-6-1, and Green Bay is 8-6.
I'm not saying they're ahead of Washington.
They are ahead of Washington.
Or I'm not saying they're behind Washington.
Okay. Washington is dropped to the number 8 spot.
Yes. Where are the Packers?
They're in the playoffs heading into Week 16.
Oh, no.
With victories over Minnesota and Detroit, it would guarantee them a postseason spot. Losses by Tampa Bay and Washington open up the window to a much larger degree than expected.
You can't.
I can find out exactly who.
Age before beauty.
This is a good show right here.
No, I saw that.
You rant about the Packers. You give me this phone. This is the best segment of this.
Okay. Well, so anyway, and I think more than anything is they're still going to back themselves into it unless, they can win the division, beat Detroit. It's going to come down to Detroit on that final Sunday in Detroit, regardless of how they do this weekend, because they're down one game to Detroit. Detroit's got to go to Dallas to play this week, so that could be another loss for them. So that means they're tied going into the final week, and Green Bay would play at Detroit. Minnesota's going nowhere, so Green Bay will kill Minnesota.
I think it's pretty safe to assume that the Packers are going to win against the Vikings.
Right, and that makes it the last game of the year at Detroit will decide the division.
It's probably going to be that either way. Even if the Lions find a way to, it will be that either way. Even if the Lions find a way to beat the Cowboys, which
it doesn't matter. The only thing that can matter is if Green Bay loses to Minnesota this week and Detroit beats Dallas, then they're down 2 games.
I don't see that happening.
I don't see that happening either. Not the way the Vikings played against the Colts. That was pathetic. But I mean, not a great performance against the Bears. You're up 27-10, and then again, that Dom Capers prevent defense, all it did was prevent the Bears from getting back into it right away. I can't read that. So.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Number 1, if the season ended right now, number 1, the byes would go to Dallas and Seattle.
Okay.
The 3 seed would be Atlanta.
Okay.
Which is ahead of Tampa Bay in that division, which is why Tampa Bay is ahead of the Packers for the other wild card spot.
Okay.
It would be Tampa Bay at Atlanta and New York Giants at Detroit right now.
Well, that's based on Detroit, though, right? Detroit won in the division.
If the season ended today, that's what we what we said.
Whoever else had it up there had it wrong because they had Green Bay going to Atlanta.
Here we go. Let's pass the buck here.
Well, I'm just saying. I know what I read. So what doesn't matter. They're going to get in. Green Bay's in the playoffs, people.
Whoa.
They're in.
Wow.
Book it here.
Now he's just getting angry.
No, I'm an angry young man.
You're going to hear about
this. I'm not
this.
even a huge Packer.
I was going to say, you're going to hear about this as the resident Packer hater.
Well, I mean, it's because they're playing good, but they're not playing great. I mean, the Bears, 3 points better than the Bears. They should,
That was a weird
They're
game.
the Bears are what, 3-12 or 3-11? I mean, that game shouldn't have come down to the last field goal by Mason Crosby to win it.
I think Demarius Randall put his hands in his pocket at that point.
I think he did
just
too.
Decided that the game was over, and all of a sudden it wasn't.
No.
But hey, when push came to shove, Rodgers to Jordy always seems to work out, doesn't it?
Well, and it's funny how now Rodgers has inched his way into the MVP discussion, which a month ago you'd have said, no way.
Well, people were talking about how it was the worst year of his career.
Even on a bad hamstring and a bad, calf, he's still Aaron Rodgers, and he's still, to watch him throw, it's just, he's so effortless. People don't realize how, Packer fans have been spoiled. With Favre and Aaron Rodgers, you've been spoiled, so kudos for that, because the Dolphins don't have anybody that I can say has taken them anywhere, but,
Sports at GazetteXtra.com. You can let us know what you think of John Barry going all in on the Packers, and or how awesome/awful this segment was.
This was, because neither one of us have any idea who's in the playoffs and who's not. The Dolphins right now are in the playoffs.
One of us argued about it. We had to get out the phones.
It doesn't matter. Okay. What else? The Badgers.
I go to ESPN.com playoff standings for all of my playoff standings.
Okay. Well, ESPN, they're overrated.
They don't know.
Chris Berman.
We got a little lull in the Badgers here.
Florida A&M coming into town on Friday night, and then they open the Big Ten season with Rutgers on Tuesday.
I think we misassociated.
I had Florida Atlantic
because
I was
Kiffin coming into.
I was so into Lane Kiffin
Center,
in Florida Atlantic, which I don't know why he took that job, but have fun, Lane.
It just seems like a
reach.
It's just a lull here, for the Badgers.
Oh.
We're waiting on this bowl game that we really don't even care that much about. The Badgers are kind of in that portion of the season where they're not really playing anybody. We're kind of waiting for the Big Ten season to get here.
Yeah, they're really haven't. You haven't even seen stories in as much as talking about the Cotton Bowl. I don't think anyone cares about the Cotton Bowl. They're giving away tickets. They're giving away packages to go see it.
Paul Chryst is emailing fans, begging them to come.
Yeah, and Paul Chryst is being mentioned as a possible Los Angeles Rams head coach.
Really?
That's not happening.
Yikes.
No.
I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think that's going to happen.
I'm waiting for the Big Ten season, and the Big Ten has looked kind of interesting. You got Michigan State, which has kind of seemed to have fallen off the map, but I also think it's Michigan State. Like when conference season rolls around, they're always in the
New Year's Eve is the next, I think, good game. Wisconsin's at Indiana against Bloomington, goes to Bloomington to play Indiana. Florida,
even Indiana,
A&M and Rutgers, those should be 2 easy wins for Wisconsin.
Remember Rutgers a couple of years ago? That didn't work out very well. Indiana seems like the team, but
they're legit.
They lost to Butler this week.
Wisconsin, I know I'm right on. Wisconsin is now the highest-ranked Big Ten team in the standings at 14.
14, yeah.
So, Big Ten's going to be wide open. I think 3-4 losses may win that.
I think Badgers and Indiana. Who else? I think Michigan State's going to be in that
You'd
top
think
4.
at some point Michigan State would come around. Purdue, I think, is decent.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think
After
Iowa's
that.
got playmakers enough that they can be in some of these
Illinois
games.
is improved. It's just a matter of, who gets hot at the right time, and Wisconsin and their experience and who they've got back. I still think they're the best team in the Big Ten.
I think so too. And
All
they're
right. We agree on that.
Hey, we do.
We agree on
and
that.
I think,
Good.
we're going to see a move up from that 14 spot. They just haven't, in this part of the schedule,
Yeah.
none of these wins are going to make anybody turn
No.
their heads and go, oh, now we got to move them up. So they're
No.
kind of just waiting for teams ahead of them to either lose or for this Indiana game and some of these other Big Ten games where they can kind of prove themselves a
Right,
little bit
and
more.
that's what they have to do, right?
What about, did you see any of that Kentucky, North Carolina game?
I did not, no.
That was two teams over 100 points in a regulation game. It didn't feel right because, we're so used to watching.
Who won? Kentucky?
Kentucky
Good.
won.
That means Roy Williams lost. That's good.
We're just so used to watching teams like the Badgers.
I know.
Where defense, and there's to see two teams go over 100, you're almost like, well, this is terrible basketball because they're not playing any defense. But it was also just kind of awesome because there were offensive players in that
Yeah,
game that just
and
took over.
Obviously,
It was
they were
amazing.
making shots and doing things the right way, and some people still prefer that, and that's okay. I mean, I remember back in the day, a couple of times I covered Grinnell when they came in to play Beloit College, and they were putting up 140, and they'd win 145 to 120, and it literally was. It was a 3 on every possession, and if you gave up a layup on the other end, so be it. And I don't think it was to that extent at North Carolina, Kentucky, but certainly those are two of the top 5-6 teams in the country. But I would hope that the Badgers would be included in that mix as well. It's just
Well, that's
a
the
different
thing.
style of play.
You said the Big Ten's kind of wide open, and I would still say that if the tournament was to start today, I think you could make the case for a lot of different teams because nobody has, they're the Kentuckys, Dukes. I mean, they're there still, but I don't think anybody has stood out head
and the
and
Badgers'
shoulders
2
above
losses are
everybody else.
still, Creighton and North Carolina are still ranked ahead of them. So I mean, those aren't bad losses right now at all.
It's not like they're.
And they've beaten the teams they're supposed to beat. Certainly Marquette, down 5 at half, and we talked about that with everything else that went on with Happ having the 2 fouls. But really, I think that was the Wisconsin team that we are accustomed to and that we expect. That was what we saw in the second half. And I think from here on out, like I say, I'm not saying anyone's going to run the table in the Big Ten, but I still think the Badgers are the team to beat.
Since we won't be back to make any bowl predictions, do you see the Badgers winning
The bowl game?
the bowl game?
I think
The
they
Cotton
do
Bowl.
just because I think Coach Chris won't let them get complacent and take it lightly. I think, even in not talking to him, but listening to Ramchick, the offensive lineman, and Watt, who were both All-Americans and could declare for the draft, both of them said, don't want to talk about it. All we care about is the Cotton Bowl. They're not going to mention or even talk about whether they come out or not. So I think the mentality going in is, look, we realize we don't have a lot to win here, but we got a lot to lose. Western Michigan hasn't, they haven't lost a game all year. They haven't played anybody. They beat Northwestern. They beat Illinois, which, big deal. Illinois is terrible. But I think they'll stay focused, and I think they'll find a way to win. And, about the time I say that, Western Michigan will beat them by 3 touchdowns. But I don't think so. I think Wisconsin wins. But what's your take?
I think that's pretty spot on. I think some teams will just overlook Western Michigan. I don't think this is one of them.
No.
That said, it's definitely one of the, you see this with a lot of different bowl games where you're not sure if teams are really going to care that much.
Right.
And even this Wisconsin team that we think probably will. I mean, sometimes when they get there, it's just
and I don't think
flat.
it's going to be a fun game to watch because
No.
I think Wisconsin's just going to try to manhandle them in the trenches and overpower them, and that means running the ball 40, 45 times, and that's not fun football to watch. But Western Michigan, I can't think of his name, but they've got an All-American wide receiver, and
so test that secondary.
I would test that secondary and go right after them. If you watch the second half against Penn State, Western Michigan's probably licking their chops right now, going, "Oh boy, this is going to be fun." We'll see.
Yeah, that game is the second.
The second, a Monday
Yes.
at noon on ESPN.
We've got to save all these NFL games for New Year's Day.
Right.
So
Only 2 of them.
New Year's Eve, we got the semifinals. Let's make just a real quick prediction. Who we got?
Alabama plays Ohio State in the national championship game.
And we might do a show then again before then,
God,
but just in case.
I hate to pick Nick Saban in Alabama, but
It's hard not to.
It's hard not to. So I'll pick Ohio State.
Yeah, I'm going to say the exact same thing. So
Right.
that didn't go very
No,
excitingly,
it
but
didn't. Sorry,
hey,
people.
At least we.
I can't pick Washington. I know that.
At least we got that all out of our system.
Yes, we did.
We did get a New Year's resolution to clean up our set here back here, so we do have that
We
to look
will
forward
work
to.
on that, and we may include the grid map of Afghanistan and Pakistan to be included in that for all you world travelers out there.
I suppose that's if the show comes back. in
If the show comes
2017.
back, if we can find
There's
funding.
been some chatter, folks, so let people know where they can find our show so they can watch it.
Yes.
And email us if you think we
Send
need to keep
checks,
this
send
thing going.
money, send a lot of things.
You can email us at sports@gazetteextra.com.
You can remain anonymous if you want.
Find us on Twitter, leave a comment on YouTube or iTunes, and maybe, hopefully, you'll give us a reason to be back. in
And have a safe
2017.
and happy holidays, people.
Yes. Have a good holiday, and we'll see you in 2017.